right here. Okay, so let's just make sure we know again, this is our email address and our website. If you want to go join our website and have access to classes and tech tips and class videos, you go to the first one. If you have a question, you can just always email us at info@anvcs.org. What do you mean? You can if you'd like. You can if you'd like. But we also record them videos, and I'm going to distribute it to the V. So I will give you a link for the V, which will then show up in your what's the system called again? Touchtown. So you no in the Touchtown system in the community app. So I'll send them the video of it, and you can always look it up and watch it again over there. Okay? Because we don't always pick up everything, right? Okay. Again, our grantors, and let's get started. So you guys all have printers. Everybody's had a printer since the beginning of time. And it's probably one of the most frustrating things when the printer doesn't work. Okay. So what we're going to talk about today is if you need a new printer, what to look for, the different types of printers, and then we're going to go through troubleshooting with the printer that you already have. Okay. So let's just talk about this. Okay. We have different types of printers. The two types of printers that we primarily see is our laser printer and the inkjet printer. Okay. Laser printers used to be super expensive, but they've actually come down in price, or the inkjet printers have come up in price. One of the two. They're not as big of a difference as possible, or as it used to be. It typically comes with a black, and then all other colors are made from 3 different colors: magenta, cyan, and yellow. Okay. Those 3 or 4 colors make all the colors that you see on your printer. That's why we only buy 3 colors when we buy cartridges.
Let's go.
Yep. All right. So let's talk about inkjet printers for a second. What happens with the inkjet printer is we get ink, those ink cartridges, and they have these tiny nozzles that spray ink into the paper. That's why they call them inkjet, right? It's the ink that's being jetted onto the paper. Okay. They're really good for photos and colorful documents. Okay. But those ink cartridges run out really quickly, and they're not cheap. They're typically $40, I think, each, maybe $50. The other thing we will tell you about inkjet printers is you have to use them. You should use them, print something out at least once a week, because they do dry out. And when they dry out, and if they dry out completely, you probably will need a new printer. Okay. So that's one of the big things, is you should just print something once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. Depends how old or new your printer is. We all at work, if we worked in a corporate office, had laser printers. Okay. Really, really good, very sharp text. What they have is toner cartridge. And then people don't always realize this, but there's actually a laser that goes against a drum that prints out the documents. So while we replace toner cartridge, if your drum goes out, you're going to need a new printer, or you have to replace that drum, which is not cheap. Literally, though, I can take a 10-year-old, and I've done this, take a 10-year-old laser printer that hasn't been used, plug it in, hook it up, and it will work. We don't have to really worry about maintenance too much. We have a choice of all-in-one printers. The thing on top is called an ADF, or automatic document feeder. We can feed documents in it, and we can scan and copy things, multiple documents. Super helpful if we're doing like our taxes or doing a bunch of papers that we need to copy and scan. But an all-in-one printer includes scanning, printing, of course, scanning, copying, faxing if you have a fax line, and it really just makes it so that you don't have to have multiple devices. With each of those, we have different ways to refill printers. The ones that I am buying for people nowadays are the ones with the tanks where you have bottles of ink that you pour into the printer. And then you have the old-fashioned inkjet cartridges, and then you have the laser cartridges that use toner. I'm going to go into each one of these and why I like certain ones over others. Okay. So inkjet versus an ink tank. Okay, so when I say inkjet, that's the actual printer cartridge that you place in it, versus the ink tank, which is the bottles of ink that you pour into it. Okay. Your initial cost for inkjet cartridge type printer, the typical ones, is very low, but the inkjets cost a little bit more. The tanks cost a little bit more. But what is really important in long term is your cost per print. Right? So if you have to buy more cartridges, it means it costs more to print things because you don't print, you get as many copies or as much things you can print with. The tank printers are probably the best deal out of all of them because you get the most pages out of all the ink. The text quality is about the same. The cartridges have a slightly better photo quality. Space efficiency, the tanks are a little bit bigger printers, okay, than the other ones. If we look at the inkjet versus the color laser printer, initial cost can be relatively the same. The value or cost per sheet, the tank is a little bit better than laser. If you're looking at text quality, the printing quality, the laser's the best. Look at photo quality, the tank is better. Speed's about the same, and they're about the same size. I'm not going to go through this piece because they all work now with everything else. All right. When we buy a printer, we want to make sure that if you are an Apple user, that you look for the symbol that says works with AirPrint. Almost all of them do nowadays. But if you don't see it on your printer, don't buy it. Go find another one. So when we start looking for a printer, we got to ask a couple of questions to ourselves. How often do we print in color? Do we like photos? Do we not like photos? Do we care that's in color? Do we not care? Do I scan documents? Do I need a copier? Okay. Do I copy more than one document at a time? That's another question. And do you have a fax line, which that requires a dedicated phone line? And do you use a fax? Not many people do anymore. We don't really need to, but some people do. In fact, there's a woman up here that I help. She uses her fax all the time because she has somebody that faxes things to her that helps. All right, so let's get into this and then we'll go into troubleshooting. So this is the one I've been buying. In fact, I've bought a couple of these in the last week for people. I've for a while there, HP I didn't like, but I've started to like HP printers again. Okay. This HP Smart Tank is an all-in-one printer, which means it has an automatic document feeder. It's got a copier. It will scan. It will fax if you'd like. It's on sale right now, $110 off for $259 at Costco, which I think is fairly cheap, fairly inexpensive. But what makes it even more value, more of a value, they give you 3 years of ink. 3 years of ink in these little bottles. So when I opened the box, sure, it had one bottle of cyan, yellow, and magenta, but it had 3 blacks, 3 black bottles of black ink, which I thought was a lot, right? Because most people won't go through a bottle of ink in 1 year. They last a long time. It's great for everyday printing. It uses less plastic because we're not changing cartridges all the time. It's pretty easy to set up. And when I say full duplex printing, that means it will print on both sides. Okay. The only thing I don't like about it is it's got a little tiny LCD screen on it, which is up here on top of it, right above the HP sign. It's not the fastest copier, but it's okay. And it doesn't, through the ADF or the document feeder, it doesn't scan both sides automatically. You have to flip them over and rescan. If you pay more, if you pay for the higher model, it will do that. But for most people, this is a pretty good printer. I personally have a color laser printer. I have one very similar to this one. If you notice, it's about $100 more, $140 more. It's got great text print quality. It's okay on the photos. It does scanning on both sides through the automatic document feeder. It's really reliable. It's got this big screen up top here that you can see, which helps kind of diagnose things or copy things or big buttons. And it's about 1,200 pages per toner cartridge. However, since it's color and you have to buy 4 toner cartridges when they run out, they're about $80 each. And so when you buy all of them, it can get pretty expensive. Okay. And that's the bad side of it. I like it because, of course, I'm got a business that we're running and I need things to look really good. You have your traditional laser, sorry. You have, this is a monochrome laser. Let me change this real quick because I changed these slides. I'm going to just skip that one. Actually, I'm going to go to this one. I'm going to go to this one. So if you just want to print and you don't need a lot of color, the black and white or monochrome LaserJet printers are great. I highly recommend these for people who are not printing in color. Really fast. It's a total workhorse. It's really efficient on your cost per page. It'll print on both sides. But this one in itself is print only. It doesn't have the copying. If you want the copier, you can do something like this. But again, this one is, that price was wrong before. It's an Inkjet. This one is really good. Okay. All right. Let's talk about how we print really quick, and then we'll get into troubleshooting. So first of all, we got to make sure the powered on, right? That the printer's on. We make sure the printer's connected, make sure that there's paper in it. Okay. This is what I talked about. Those little LCD windows. If it has an LCD window, it's much easier to troubleshoot and set up. Okay. But these are our common print settings. And most of us don't really pay attention to this. We just hit print and we hit the print button again, and it just prints. First thing you got to do is make sure that the printer that you want to, if you have more than one printer, you select the right printer. You want to make sure here under copies that you make sure it only says one unless you want multiple ones. You have your page range, you have your paper size, you have the way you want it to print, and then you can choose the resolution on a lot of these. The number represents how many dots per inch. So obviously, if you want it to be prettier, you make that number higher. For most text, this is fine. You also will have an option to print in black and white or color. These all look a little different. And then there's always something that says print quality, which isn't here yet. Let's see. Okay. Printing from our iPhone. So with all the updates and upgrades, these things change all the time. So if you have an iPhone and you want to print something, you open up your email, you scroll all the way to the bottom, and you find that little left arrow. It's in the lower right-hand corner. It is the same arrow, at least to me, it's the same arrow as the reply arrow, right? Which to me doesn't make much sense for them to do this. But the one at the bottom is basically has more options or more things you can do. Okay. So you click that button, and then you're going to get this window that pops up, and it has other things like move messages, move the junk, archive, etc. All the way towards the bottom is going to be the window that says the sign that says print. It will then pop up this window, which is options. First thing you're going to do is select your printer. You pick your printer. And then those options that we just talked about are available for you. How many copies, what's the range, if you want to print in color or not. And then you hit that little blue print button up top. Now, if you have a newer printer, it should be, and it's on the network, you should be fine. If it's cabled into your printer, your computer, and it's not on Wi-Fi, this won't work. Your phone or iPad has to be on the same Wi-Fi as your printer in your home. Okay. You know that if you've only got it set up for Wi-Fi in your home for your iPhone. Okay. If you are set up on the same Wi-Fi, your printer's on the Wi-Fi, then you'll be able to print pretty easily by following these steps. If you have an Android,
Yeah, right.
go ahead.
Can you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just make sure you cover the Android because I can't get it to print off of my phone.
Okay. Was there a question though, Lily?
No, I just can't get it to work. It's
Just make sure we're on the same Wi-Fi, and make sure that your printer is not what you're looking who she's from. Lily is on our Zoom. So we have people on our Zoom. So all these people on our Zoom. See. You just have to make sure it's on the same Wi-Fi. Make sure your printer is not wired into your device or your computer.
I did that, but it
Android.
says it can't find. It says it can't find it. But go ahead. You just go ahead.
Okay. Well, I can help you with that later.
Oh, okay.
Android, if you have an Android phone, it's very similar. They're always different. So this is an email. You're going to hit the three dots, which is on top here. You're going to go to print. And then you're going to follow the same thing. You're going to select the printer, choose what you want to print, and you'll go from there. Okay. All right. On your Mac, let's add your printer. So we're going to click on the Apple in the upper left-hand corner. We're going to click on System Settings. We're going to go to Printers. And there's this button that says Add Printer, Scanner, or Fax. If you are on the Wi-Fi and your printer has been set up on the Wi-Fi, you'll then be able to find it. You just let it find the driver, or it says Use. That's your printer driver. It will be automatic. You want to label it, you can change the name of it, and then you simply click. We'll then go and say setting up your printer. I'm gonna have to put somebody on mute here. You're gonna have to set up your printer, or it'll start setting up your printer. Just be patient, and then it will show up. Okay. There's the one that we added. We named it Mom's Printer. You can print a test page to make sure it works. Click on it. Go up to the top. We're going to say printer, and it's going to say print test page, and we'll print a test page to make sure it's working. Okay. Again, inkjet printers print a test page every couple of weeks to keep the nozzles from clogging or drying out. On a Mac, printing a document, again, File or Command P, comes up with print. Comes up with the print dialog that we already talked about, and we just hit print. Okay. We have a Windows computer. We go to settings. We click on Bluetooth and devices, and then we hit printers and scanners. and we're going to add a print device, and it will look for the printer and it will add it. Okay. All right. So that's how we print. That's how we set it up. That's our buying decisions. Now we're going to go on troubleshooting, which probably most of you guys are interested in, right? Again, it's very frustrating if our printer doesn't work. So we're going to walk through kind of your basic steps to make sure you know how to fix it. So your basic troubleshooting, and trust me when I say cords fall out or things you get old or the vacuum cleaner runs over a cord, is that you gotta make sure that we check that the power cord has been put in, or if it's a surge protector, that the light is on the surge protector. If you're using a printer cable that's connected to your computer, make sure it's all the way in. And then make sure that the cables look good, not falling apart, fraying, not anything else. Okay. A lot of times it's hard because they're hidden behind a desk or whatever, but if you can just make sure that there's power to it, that's the best thing we can do. Now, happens all the time. People say I can't print. And so we're going to say, hey, first thing you're going to do is check and make sure that it's connected to the network. Okay. If you have a screen, it will say not connected potentially. But really what's going to happen is you're going to look for something like this, where that little blue Wi-Fi signal is blinking. So this is pretty universal, that if you have a printer that's connected, supposed to be connected to the Wi-Fi, and you see a blue dot or a blue Wi-Fi button that's flashing, you guys all see it in the lower right-hand corner there. If you see that, it's probably not connected, or it's definitely not connected to the internet. If you don't know how to connect it to the internet, you can ask for help, but it's usually in your settings on your screen on the printer under network setup. Okay. Again, make sure that you're on the same Wi-Fi as your computer or phone in the printer so that you can print to it. A lot of people have multiple Wi-Fis in their apartment or in their home. One of the things is, like here at the V, you might accidentally be connected to the public network, and your printer would be connected to your home network. So we have to make sure they're on the same one. Check the paper path. So if it says there's a paper jam or there's out of paper or something like that, and you said, no, I put paper in, make sure that you seat that tray all the way in until it kind of clicks. Okay. You might have to fan the paper because sometimes they're stuck together. But one of the big things to do is make sure these guides, I think there's another picture, these guides are tight against the paper. If they wiggle, your printer won't like that. You can look and take a hair dryer and put it on cool setting and blow out any paper that's in there or stuck in there. You can look and see if there's any pieces of ripped paper in there. There is also in almost every printer, especially the taller, skinnier, boxier looking ones, there's a tray in the back that you can pull out, and that's where paper can be stuck. I have a little video to kind of walk through some of the places where you can find paper stuck. So let's go ahead and take a look at that.
Front door and the cartridge access door. Remove any jam.
Remove the paper path cover. Remove any jammed paper and replace the cover. Close the access doors. Remove the output tray. Remove the input tray. Remove any jammed paper. For models with 2 trays, pull the second tray out and remove any jammed paper. Replace the trays. On the back of the printer, press the tab to open the rear door. Remove any jammed paper. Close the rear door.
Almost all those, see this little tray, you guys probably don't look at it at the back of your printer often, but when there's a jammed piece of paper, almost all printers have this little back door where you can pull paper out of if it gets stuck. Okay. So just pay attention to that one if things are stuck and you can't find the jam paper. Okay. We also need to check our toner levels or ink levels, the screen if you have one, and this is why I recommend you get a printer that has a screen on it. It will tell you that of ink. If you have a laser printer, take out the toner and shake it up. All right, be careful, don't shake it too hard because dust will come out of it. Okay, but that will kind of reset things. If you're on a Mac, you can actually click on the printer by going through the settings, go to options and supplies, and then it will show you supply levels. You can check and see how much your supplies are. And this is always something else that it gets stuck. Sometimes print jobs get stuck. In other words, you've printed something, then you went to go print more things, and that first print never came out. You can go ahead and clean that all out. Okay, this is what's called your print queue, meaning that these are all the print jobs that are set up and waiting to be printed. On a Mac, we're going to go to settings. We're going to scroll all the way to the bottom where it says printers. Then you're going to double click the printer that is in question. When that happens, it's going to open up this window. And if you have multiple printers, you're going to pick the one. And if there's a whole bunch of jobs in there, there's going to be a little X on next to each one of them, and you can click the X and it will clear them all out. This often helps clean out all the resets the printer so you can print more things out. Sometimes, like I said, there's a bad print job. Don't ask me why, it just happens. On a Windows computer, you go through, hit settings. You're going to click on printers and scanners. Oops. You're going to pick, and then you're going to go in there, and it's going to be a print queue after you click the printer that's on there. Sometimes the printer, if we've done all these things, just won't work. It just won't work. Okay. The printer manufacturers will always tell you, don't unplug the power while the printer is on. We're going to tell you, if you're having problems and you've done all these other troubleshooting pieces, just cut the power. How do you cut the power? You unplug it from the wall, or you take the power cord from the back of it and put it back in. You're waiting about 30 seconds. What this does is it kind of cleans out all the temporary files and temporary memory and stuff that's in your printer and kind of resets it a little bit. Okay. So this is the one that we do when we've done all the other things. Look for jams, check the print queue, made sure there's enough toner or ink in it, and we just clean it out. It is different from just hitting the power button because the power button doesn't clean out all those temporary files. Okay. While you're waiting for the printer to come back up, we want you to reboot your computer, restart it as well. So everything will be clean and fresh. Our summary for troubleshooting. Network is offline. Check your Wi-Fi, check your cables. If your printer doesn't respond, it's probably stuck job in the printer queue. There's error lights. We need to check for paper jams, check the level, make sure that there's paper in it. If you have faded toner or faded print jobs, meaning the text has lines through it or it's faded, the toner could be low, or we have dried inkjets. We're either going to check the toner if you have a laser printer, or you're going to run the mix and clean the head. That's all in those printer settings where you go to settings and then maintenance and then clean print heads. Okay, you have to run it more than once. Okay, so that's our discussion. Questions, comments? Is this helpful? Is this not helpful? To be able to get your print jobs back online and get you, before calling for help, we should be able to hopefully follow these steps and get things back online. If it's more than that, then people here or call us and we'll give you a hand. Question? Yes. Okay.
I have to turn the curtain off. And then they have to set it up.
So yeah. So the question is, when she prints from her HP printer, it comes out pretty quickly, but when she goes to copy something, it takes a long time, basically, right? You shouldn't, yeah, because she's your printer, you have to turn off and then turn it back on. That shouldn't happen. How old is your printer? Is it? That should not happen. We'll talk afterwards. Okay. But what I would suggest you do before, like in between, is do what I said, pull out the plug or cut the power, wait 30 seconds, put it back on, then try printing something, and then right after that, copying something and see if it works. But we'll talk right after this. Lily, did you have a question?
I did, but should we do it after you finish the class? Because I've done everything you said, and I guess maybe we need to talk a little bit.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions, comments? All right. Let's see. There's something in the chat. Let's just check the chat. Thank you for the troubleshooting. It's helpful. Thank you. Okay. You guys have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you guys next week.